with the right, yeah. We call it a soundtrack, you know.
A true painter is about, first of all, the handling of the material itself relative to his body, relative to his mind. And when I say mind, I mean his capacity to impose through the medium of his musculature his whole character upon intransigent stuff squeezed out of tubes or poured out of jugs, so that it becomes a direct extension of his own fibrovascular system. That's one. A true painter is a person who imposes self thoroughly. Whether it's involved with image or not is not important, but engages himself thoroughly in the paint. The true painter makes the stroke that is not only delineating that which it usually delineates, but the stroke is a thing in and of itself, with a life, a palpability, and a meaning of its own, with a speed, with a time, with a character of its own, as well as the happy burden of his character. So the paint becomes an object for the true painter. Then also for the true painter, the paint is simultaneously line and color. Line, which is the line of the direction, the gesture, the time, the motion, the speed of the stroke. Line which exists as contour around the stroke. Line which is dug by the bristles below the ferrule of the brush that dig into the paint, that move it across the surface. Whatever it is, line upon line upon line built that way. And then the paint itself, in its character of color, as it is mixed, admixed, as it runs over other colors, runs into other colors, cuts through other colors, that color itself, which is the very character of the paint, is synonymous with the stroke, which is synonymous with the painter. And then, finally, the paint itself is the content of the painting, is the meaning of the painting, what the paint can do, how the paint lives. In the current Strautmanis show, there is one black and white gray mixture piece made up of about 12 or 14 major strokes. These strokes cut more or less vertically the whole canvas, with one diagonal slanting down to the right across the top. You look at this painting, and it's an extraordinary painting to look at, even though it is not typical of his work. But you look at this painting, and the only thing you can say is that this is a Doric painting. And you see the columns of grease, and you see the Doric column in the sense that each single stroke, as it has been used to attack in his hands, the surface of the canvas is pressed down into the surface, whipped vertically from the bottom to the top, or whichever the direction may be, and then the brush is pushed into the surface and pulled away, so that you get fluting of the column, you get the whites and the grays of the material itself, and then finally at the very top, the circle, where there is the break of the top of the column, and you look into the very fiber of the marble itself, all of which is created by the phenomenology of the paint. And to have observed this, and to have held it, and to have created it, is something that only a painter can do. Let's start with one specific thing, the large gestural skulls, the skulls of Goya. Where did those paintings start? How did they start? And what are they? And how would you describe them? Is that a balance of image and calligraphy, or what? Or what do you think?
Well, it's probably both. The paintings started, there's actually a precedent for about 10 years of doing drawings of skulls and being interested in different cultures. It seems to me, it always seemed to me, it's like a central theme of man that throughout centuries one has occupied with. So it's I always like to do things that other people have done, that I can judge myself.
And you've been preoccupied, by the way, always with expressionists.
Well, I think that's my temperament that it lends itself to. But I've always loved, and the longer I keep painting, the more I love influence and being influenced and transform things and constantly being able to compare myself.
Is the influence one of style, or is the influence one of fundamental themes?
It's not really themes. I think it's influences that of attitude. And I think it's like influence, it really should be said influences. The S becomes important. I think that if you're just influenced by another person, by another painter painting, I think you're like a small mushroom under a tree. But if you deal with several influences at the same time and deal with the tensions of that and the cross purposes that do happen by admiring maybe de Kooning and Goya at the same time and Rembrandt and dealing with those three giants, that I think it's like that then the painting comes out somehow stronger.
Canvas around actually looks very good.
Great, huh? Yeah, it's formal, you know, but it's nice.
Okay, here, get mine in. Is this the one that you painted?
Yeah.
This one has a title?
Mm-hmm.
What's the title?
Venetian.
It's the one
I thought, remember we were talking about Venice being a rabbinical studies center?
Yes.